Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn something new, and what is that new? I'll just tell you. First, before we step into the subject, let me introduce you. Let me introduce myself and let me introduce about what chapter I'm going to say today. So first of all, very good morning to everybody, and on happening Vinayaka Chavati wishes to everybody. All right. So what is okay? Before we start with the subject, let me have some throwback memories. Of what we were before the college. Do you guys remember when in 5th class or 4th class, first time when we have entered into the computer lab, what problems did we face? Like, once you enter into the computer lab, right away when you see the computer, we don't know what is computer at that particular age, isn't it? So, what is computer? And the computer sir or teacher used to ask us, switch on the computer. Or they used to tell us to put on the power of computer. So we don't know what is CPU, what is computer, and later on we have developed ourselves learning what is computer, what are the fundamentals of computer, and now everybody, even a small kid, is using computer. But guys, it is a great thing that we've been learning all about computer science, and everybody is trying to be geek. But the only problem that we have is when we go through our life and grow through our life, the only problem we face is we intend to forget the basics what we have learned at our school level, isn't it? So today we are going to learn something about fundamentals and the introduction to computers. Yes, we know all already, we know how to use computer, we know how to use laptops, we know how to use Android mobiles, we know how to use different kinds of gadgets. But the thing is, do you know how to brief, or do you know how to explain to others what is exactly a computer is? So that is what the basic thing that I want to teach you today. So let us go with the introduction, that is fundamentals of computers. Here, if you can see the PPT here. Yes. So today we are going to have an introduction to computer. And before I start, let me actually tell you what is a computer, or before I go ahead and start with the subject, let me introduce first what type of difficulties did we find earlier stages, especially when you go for an interview. When you go for an interview, there will be the HR asking you, can you please tell about a computer? So at that particular point, what happens to you is you intend to get tensed and you speak about CPU, which is not actually a computer. It is an output device, or it's an input device, or it's some device. You'll speak about the device more rather than the computer. So today I'm going to explain you about what is a computer, what is the brief of a computer, how to brief a computer. So now I want you to listen to me very carefully. Yes, I know that you know about the computer, but this briefing will help you when you go for an interview at the early stages of your life. So let us go with the introduction to computer. Yes. So if we can see fundamentals of computer. What is a computer? What are inputs and outputs of a computer? What are basic parts of computer? What is a hardware in computer? What is software in computer? Can you brief the parts of computer? So what are these? These are the kind of questions, kind of questions that we face when especially we go for an interview. So when we go for an interview, the first question, if you're going related to a software job or a hardware job, obviously you will be sitting hours and hours and hours in front of a computer. So when you don't know what is a computer, and when you don't know how to introduce computer to an HR, how can you think you'll get a job, isn't it? So now I'll tell you the basics, what is the meaning of a computer, what is a briefing of a computer, what is a sentence that you have to say when an HR asks you about a computer. So these are the things that we're going to cover today in the fundamentals of computers. Okay, so let us go with the first question. If you can see here, introduction to computer. In introduction to computer, the first is a basic sentence that you are looking at here. Computer is a device that manipulates the data according to the instructions given to you. So what is the meaning of this, guys? If you can see, when we can see here in the picture, you have a computer, you have a CPU, you have mouse, and you have a keyboard. So do you think only this is a computer? No. So in computer, first let me introduce you to the computer. Computer is a set of devices put together to form a basic idea about internet, or if you want to use internet without a keyboard, you really can't use it. So all devices put together is a computer. So when I say the briefing of the computer here, the definition of a computer means it's not the CPU, it's not the monitor, it's about put together a device. So as I said, if you can see the definition out there, computer is a device. If you can see the sentence here, computer is a device that manipulates. What is this? What is the meaning of computer is a device that manipulates the data according to the instructions given to you? So I'll tell you what is the meaning of this sentence. A device, that means when you give an instruction, or when you type something. For example, if I say you tell me about Google. So you don't know what is a Google until and unless you go do it, right? So especially when I say you to do a research on Google, the first thing that you do is type something on the keyboard which enters on the monitor, and then the Internet Explorer opens, and then you can find what is a Google. That is Wikipedia again. So whatever question you have, you're putting in front of the CPU, or you're putting in front of a computer, so that it takes the device, it takes the instructions that have been given to you. The device takes the instructions that are being given by you, and that calculates accordingly to what answer do we need, and it gives back the answer to us. So this is what a computer is. Whatever you want, information, data is information again. So whatever data you require, whatever information do you require, when you give the instructions to this machine will revert back to you by the data. So that is the meaning of a computer. So let us go with the second slide. That is a computer. If you can see, here are the few definitions of a perfect computer. All right. So first sentence, if I can read it out, a computer is an electronic device that accepts input, that is data, processes it and gives output, results, information, and save it as an electronic file. Now, what is the meaning of this? If you can see, a computer is an electronic device that accepts input. So what is the meaning of this? For example, whatever am I saying? Well, whatever I'm saying, it just can't type automatically, isn't it? So whatever I type, that means I am giving an information through keyboard to the Internet Explorer. That is again an electronic device. If you can see, a monitor is an electronic device, a keyboard is an electronic device, a mouse is an electronic device. So to any electronic device, if you are giving the command, you have to give a command to the machine so that it takes the information, and then processes it. Like, it just understand. It will take the command, calculates it, and understand that, and try to get some get some data, and it will try to get data for you, and then it will give it to you as an information. So whatever question, for example, I'll tell you, can you please speak about the basic steps of an interview? So that is the question that I have been typing on internet. So what the computer or the electronic device do is, it manipulates and calculates the information that is available in the internet. It gathers the information and then display that for me in the monitor, so that I can just see that and get the information. So this is the meaning of the computer in the first sentence. Let us go with the second sentence. Yes, it is classified by size, speed, and application. So now if I can see, how do a computer run? If you can see, how do a computer run? So it's not a computer runs through a liquid, isn't it? A computer doesn't survive with a food. If you keep food for the computer, it won't have it. So how do a computer run? The computer or any electronic device runs through the basic information that I have given to you, that is size, speed, and application. So obviously the size is required. If you can see GBs, MBs, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes are the new size available, are the new sizes which are available on the data. Like, the data will be calculated on for the sizes. The most, as we can see, if you can see a photo, that will be a size of 3 or 4 kilobytes, KB, what we say it. And then if you can see the lot of information, for example, if you download a movie, it will be in GBs, like 1 GB, 2 GBs, 3 GBs. So now if you go for lot of information, for example, if you take out your hard disk and look at the information in it, all information together will be 1 terabyte, or it can be 2 TB, it can be 3 TB. So whatever information that is available, that is data, will be calculated in size. It will be in KB, GB, MB and TB, all right? And then let us go for the next thing, that is speed. What is speed? If I can say you, the configuration of the computers, or the update versions of the computers have the speed good. Like, if you can see, before 5 or before 6 years, we have Intel Core 2 Duos and Centrinos and dual cores. If you can see whatever available in the market at that particular time, this speed was really good. Like, we had a lot of computers with Intel Core 2 Duos and Centrinos. But now if you see, we have i3s and i7 and i5 processors, which are very fast. So this is the speed. For example, how much GB RAM do you have in your computer? So RAM, first initially before 3 years, we have DDR1 RAMs in our computers. Now we have DDR3s which are running in the market. So as per the calculations, once you update your computer, the speed of the computer will increase. So this is calculated by the update versions of the speed will be calculated through the processors or the RAMs and the machines that you use for your computer. So now let us see the next thing, that is application. So if you can see, it is classified by size, speed and application. So what is application now? An application is simply mean that anything, that means if you can say Internet Explorer, it's an application. Google Chrome, it's an application. What is Mozilla Firefox? It is an application. What is Microsoft Office? It's an application. You see anything, the entire softwares, whatever you install in your computer are one of the applications. So these applications are the sets of things that we put it in our computer for our advanced search and data. So these are the most important things that will be calculated through computer. So what are these 3 things? Shall we go ahead with once again? So the first thing is size, the second one is speed, and the third one is application. Guys, remember, the applications in the market are being updated so much. We have new applications coming up right now in the market. We have Facebook, which is all-time used. If you can see 24/7, a teenager will be in a Facebook. If you can see WhatsApp, it have become a great application that everybody are using it for messaging and for calling too. And now we have new applications coming called Google Slides, Google Duo. So all these new applications are something which makes the data transfer advanced. For example, if you want to talk to one of your friends who is in New York, it is very easy right now by Google Duos, by just putting up a call to the person and you can directly talk. It is because of the Internet Explorer again. So, but where is it all happening? It is happening in your computer. So this computer is an electronic device which is used for us to share the data. Exchange tell you is a computer have hardware and software. So these are the 2 things that we should find in a computer. So about this hardware and software, I'll go ahead and explain to you later. So let us come to the last point of our PPT. Here, if you can see, the data consists of numbers, text, sounds, images, videos, and etc. So what is this meaning? If you can see the meaning, I have been telling you about the information, data, and whatever I have explained to you. It's all about information exchange of data. Like, if I want an information from a Google, that is called as a data again. If I want to give a mail to you, that is a information, again that is a data. So whatever we are doing in internet or whatever we are doing on a computer, it's all about the data. So what is this data here? In computer, the data refers to, if you can look at the PPT once, yes, the data consists of numbers, text, sounds, images, videos, etc. So if I say here the data, exactly the data means, yes, what is numbers? If you can see, do you want to calculate anything, or if you want to see anything, the first thing that you have to look at is numbers. The entire matrix of computer happens with the numbers, ones and zeros. So this entire computer runs internally in the software. It calculates the binary language with ones and zeros. That is the first thing that you should remember in the data. The second thing, as I said you, text. What is text? For example, you're mailing to somebody. It's not that the silent mail goes, isn't it? Or it's not the blank mail that goes, isn't it? So this is something where you'll type, for example, A to Z, you type so many words in a mail. For example, dear sir, greetings of the day. As per our discussion, we have been learning the new class which has been implemented by APSSDC, and we are happy with the class. Greetings, again, thank you, regards. So what is all this? This is a text that you are typing in the mail, and then you are sharing the information to some other person. So when you are sharing the data, that data have text here at this particular mail example that I was been giving to you. So now let us go for the second thing, that is sound. For example, without sound, you have seen numbers here, you have seen text here, and the third thing I can say you is sound. So what is a sound? For example, without sound, you can't hear anything. For example, if I am been sending you a movie, that means just a video, and there is no audio. Will you be able to understand the video? No. So now I just want to tell you that without an audio, a data is never being shared. Yes, of course, there are few things. For example, if you're sending a text, yes, you might not send an audio, but yes, audio is one of the best data. For example, you have recorded an audio of your friend's birthday. You have recorded an audio for your friend's birthday, and you have been sending that to your friend. So now when you have sent it, if there is no audio file, or if there is no audio coming out from the computer, would you be enjoying it? No, obviously. So that you have to remember that everywhere audio nowadays is very important. So audio is also a part of data which I'm talking right now. So let us see the next one, that is images. What is images? I think there is no need of me telling you what is images here. So we have so many images right now in this generation. So much of communication is happening only through one image. For example, if you want to be viral, you don't need to do anything. You just have to upload one of your good pictures in the internet. That's all. You are viral in the internet, isn't it? So internet can make your images as a data, and it will be sharing to so many people. So now computer is a part of communication right now, or if you can see any part of electronic device is a part of communication. So yes, in communication, the another part of data I'm talking right now is images. So if I can tell you about images, we have lots and lots of images types of communication which you can do every day in your life. If you can see, for example, if I show you an image of a person hitting another person, it simply means that two people are fighting, or two people are very good friends that they are beating each other. So it can be anything, through image the data can also be shared. Yes, through image anything can be understood. Yes, through image so many things can be communicated to others. So this is again a data. Whatever it is shared, it is called as a data. And in data, the another type of data we have is images. So let us reconstruct our sentence from first. The first kind of data we are talking about is numbers. The second type of data we are talking about was text. The third kind of data we are talking about is audio, that is sounds. The fourth type of data we are talking about was images. And now I have an amazing thing for you, that is videos. So what are videos? If you can see right now, everybody are into YouTube. Everybody are into YouTube. You people find everything in YouTube. You type anything and you'll get that in YouTube, isn't it? So YouTube is one of the best communications that you can find as a data in Internet Explorer through your computer. So once if you can go through your computer and put up YouTube, YouTube is also an application which is running very good in the market right now. So YouTube, if you can go through the YouTube and type any topic, that means if you go to YouTube and say type APSSDC. So you can find all the APSSDC videos in the YouTube. So what is YouTube trying to, or what is this application trying to do here? This application is helping you out to find all the data, or it is helping you to find out whatever information you require through the Internet Explorer. Do you think YouTube is doing it? No, your computer is doing it. So this is the fundamental policy that you have to remember. It is not Internet Explorer which is not doing it. It is the computer which is putting up the files in your YouTube or in the Internet Explorer, which makes more advanced for people to find out what is happening here. So this is very easy to remember the data formats. The data is into 5 types right now, as if we have calculated. The first thing was numbers. The second thing what we were talking about was text. The third thing what we were talking about is sound, that is audio, which I have said you already. The fourth thing what we were been telling about was images, and the last one what we were talking about was videos. So these are the 5 important data structures that you have to remember when an HR asks you. For example, what is a data? Yes, a data is a form of information, but examples, yes, you have to give. The examples are text, numbers, images, sounds and videos. So these are the few examples that you give to people when somebody asks you what is data. And yes, data is everywhere. You talk to somebody, whatever you talk is a data. So that is again text, you can say, that is again numbers, you can say, that is again communication that you can say. So whatever you release out of your mouth is a data. Whatever you try to communicate is a data, and this data happens through one of the electronic device, that is computers. A computer will calculate what information do you need from the internet, and it gives a command to the application, that is YouTube or Google Chrome or whatever it is, and that application will give you the information at the end whatever you require. So this is what a basic information that we were looking out from the computer's end. So now let us go to the next PPT, that is what is input, what is processing, what is output. So now I'll tell you what is input. Input in computer is keyboard, if you can see here, keyboard, mouse, scanner and card reader. Yes, so if you can see the above diagram, which have input, arrow to the processing, arrow to the output. So input is something where you are doing it, you will be the hero of this and you will be the main player of the input. Input is being done by you. If you can see, without it we can't describe a problem or information. So now if you have a problem, the first thing you have to do is you have to put the problem through the input to the computer. And what is processing? This here, the hero will be your computer. Way to get from input to output. So what this processing will do, it will try to take the information whatever you require from the input device and try to calculate to give it to the output. And now if you can see, what is output? Without it we can't get an answer. Obviously, output is where we have the hero as application. This application is a hero of output. So this output will be giving you the information what you require at the end of the session. So yes, if you can see below, input, as I said you, input in your computer is keyboard, mouse, scanner and card readers, and we have so many too right now. And yes, processing unit. What is this processing unit in the computer? Primary storage. As I have said you, primary storage is nothing but your whatever devices you have in your CPU, and then you have CPU, we call it as central processing unit, and we have auxiliary storage, that is hard disk and a kind of important devices that do the job of processing the information to the output. Yes, so now what is output? If you can see here, yes, output is monitor, printer, speaker and the projector. So if you can see, for example, I'll tell you a basic example. You know what? In your computer, you will be typing, please, okay, you will go to Google, please tell me the meaning of CPU, that is CPU. You will just type this in Google. So what you are doing, you are inputting the information into the computer, right? So that is where it will process. What is in the process? Like what is happening in the processing? So in the processing, the application wherever you have typed will try to get the information to the output. That is output. What is output here? Monitor. Of course, you have monitor in front of you. So once you type, can you please tell me what is CPU? Obviously, Google Chrome will give you an answer saying it is Central Processing Unit, and it is a kind of output device. So that is what you can find in the monitor. So once when you get the display, before that what was happening? Yes, the application was processing whatever you have typed to the output so that you can see that whatever information you have typed. So we'll revise once again with this PPT here. If you can see, yes, you can see input here, you can see processing the information here, and then you have output here, because without output you can't really get the answer, isn't it? Yes. And now we have here down input. Some of the examples of input devices are keyboard, mouse, scanner, and card reader, and we have so many right now. And the second now is processing unit. In processing unit, you have primary storage, CPU, and auxiliary storage. And now let us talk about output. In output, you have monitor, printer, speaker, projector, where these are the sources of output, so that you can see and understand whatever information you have asked to your computer. Yes, right. So now let us go with the second, next slide. I'm really sorry. Yes, in the next slide you can see introduction to computers. So what is this introduction to computers? When I introduce you to the computer, we have something called as, already we have seen, input and output devices. Yes, we were talking about input. Example, I have said you the examples, but I didn't said you the definition of input, right? So here we have the definitions of input, processing, and output. So now we have the first definition, that is input. So what is input here? Input is the hardware that allows data to be put into the computer. For example, if you can see, the first thing that you do always is type something, or when you try to communicate with your computer, the first thing that you have to do is do something on your keyboard or mouse to put that into the computer. So what is the means of communication here? The means of communication here is keyboard, mouse, joystick, mic, scanner. For example, I'll tell you, you go to an internet explorer or you go to an internet shop. When you go to an internet shop, the first thing that you people do is ask for the internet guy to scan your documents, isn't it? So when you go for the internet shop, and when you ask for the scanning, you know, the first thing the internet shop guy will do is put the files of yours into the scanner and then scan it. So after scanning, what happens? That will get into the monitor, isn't it? So and then he will process you, or then he will give that to your mail or something. So this is what you just have to remember. And the second thing here that I want to tell you in input is a very much important thing, because it is the initial ground level of communication to the computer. Without keyboard or without mouse or without joystick, you won't be able to communicate to the computer at the initial stage. So here keyboard, mouse, joystick, mic, scanner, and etc. are the input devices which are very much important for your understanding or for your computer to understand what you want to communicate. So let us see the second point, that is processing. In processing, what happens? Processing is a way the computer manipulates the data and changes it into binary language with the help of CPU, that is Central Processing Unit. For example, guys, what happens here? Why do we see RAMs? Why do we see, you know, SMPs? Why do we see so many electronic things in your CPU? You know what happens when you type something? Whatever language that we get from the internet to the computer is matrix. We call it as matrix. All are going to be in zeros and ones. If that displayed to you, you won't be able to understand anything. So what computer do is it try to manipulate that language into the language what you require, that is English or Telugu or Hindi. It tries to calculate the information and try to manipulate that information into the language what you require, and that displays at the end of the time. So processing here means your CPU is playing a major role here in understanding what you want, and it tries to plug the same thing from the internet, change it and try to give it to you. So that is what CPU does in the core end level of communication, right. Now let us go with the third point, that is output. If you can see here, the output, the devices through which the process data is displayed is the hardware. Example, monitor, speakers, printer, projector. As I said you again, I will read it for you once again. The definition of output is the devices through which the processed data is displayed in the hardware, alright. So now I will tell you a basic example now. So when you go for a cinema hall, when you go for a film theater, when you go for the theater, the first thing that you see is ads, isn't it? So there are so many advertisements when you go for a movie. So what is happening to these ads? So the ads will be given to the projector guy so that he is displaying those ads for you, so that whenever you look at the ad, you simply understands and then you will go. So that is what you have to remember. So this output is simply means the display what you are doing it. So the devices through which the processed data is displayed is in the hardware. For example, if you can see monitors, speakers. First I will tell you about the monitors. For example, you've been using the CPU, and when you use the CPU, the first thing whatever you type through the keyboard, you will obviously get that information in the monitor. So whatever you have typed, the first thing that you can see is the monitor, and you will obviously understand what were you been looking at or what were you been typing at, right. So this is where you can see and understand through the output, because whatever input you are giving, obviously you will understand in the output. So the first thing is the monitors. The first kind of output I was talking about is monitor. The second kind of output, yes, I was talking about was speakers. What are speakers? Now this generation are really in love with speakers, isn't it? You have home theaters, we have amazing sound systems in cars, we have amazing sound systems. Without sound we really can't enjoy the song, isn't it? So everybody loves speakers. So how do you and what do you first I'll ask, how do you enjoy the music? Through speakers, obviously. So when you type through your input to the computer saying some song, for example, when you type Backstreet Boys, when you type in the keyboard, the monitor obviously, or the computer or your processing unit will make sure they find all the songs which are available from the Backstreet Boys albums, and then it gives to the outsourcing of the monitor, and once we click play there, obviously the sound comes through the speakers. So this is what you just have to remember. An output is something which gives you the result at the end. So here the result is audio, as I said you. The third kind of data what we were talking about. So audio is very much important, and the audio can only be given to you through speakers. So let us go with the last but one, that is printer. So if you want a printout, so right now if you can see anywhere, everywhere, the only means of communication is displaying it through some kind of papers or flexes. If you can see, if you want to see, if you can see a poster of a hero, of the cinema, obviously when you go to a theater, you can find a very big poster of a hero. And how does this happening? It is happening through the means of communication in your computer. When you put some information that is a big, when you calculate the image size and when you give it for a print, the printer will make sure it is giving you the output whatever you require through a printout. So this printout or this printer is also called as an output device. So let us go with the last one, that is projector. What is the projector? if you can see, a projector is a big kind of display. You know, if you can see it have a n number of resolutions. We have this projector usually used to try to communicate with more than 10 or more than one person, because when your friends all are gathering at one place and you are partying, so when you are partying, do you think you only display the movie in one, or you are displaying one song in one monitor, and do you think all the 20 people can sit and see in that monitor? No, isn't it? So that is when the people use projector. Or when you go for the seminar halls, usually they don't use monitors over there, they use projectors. So what does this projector mean? A projector is simply mean a big kind of display which is used for so many people to understand the data that is being shared by your computer. Alright, so this is the clear cut meaning of input, processing and output. I think I am very clear. So let us go with the second slide. Yes, if you can see here, the basic parts of computer. So everybody have this question, and I think everybody knows this already. So if when you go for the HR interview, the first thing the person is going to ask you is, what are the basic parts of a computer? So when I say here, what are the basic parts of a computer, you just have to be able to say the basic parts of a computer are monitor, CPU, speakers, keyboard, mouse and speakers, if you can see, and the printer. So these are the basic components of computer. If you can see, a computer is, as I said you, a computer is a set of things that are being gathered together to try to get you an information. So here some basic parts of a computer are printer, monitor, CPU, speakers, keyboard, mouse and another kind of speakers. That is, if you can see, we have speakers to listen, we have speakers to talk, that is mic, as we already know. So when an HR asks you, when you go for an interview, especially when you go for an interview, if some HR asks you, can you just tell me what are the basic parts of a computer? Never say hard disk, or never say RAM or ROM, because I am talking about computer, not CPU. So when I say tell me the basic parts of a computer, you should be able to tell the basic parts that we use to input and the basic parts we get through the output. So the input devices are, obviously we have seen keyboard, mouse, and we have so many things to input, scanners, and of course card readers. So when I say about the processing units, again we have a CPU. In CPU we have so many auxiliary components. And the last thing I just want to tell you is output devices. If you can see in the computer, the output devices are, if you can see, monitor, printer and speakers, where we were talking about the hardware components. So these are all the basic parts of a computer. So now let us go with the next slide, that is hardware and software. As I said you in the initial stage, I will be telling about the hardware and software at the end of the class, isn't it? So now I will tell you a computer can be divided into two, that is hardware and software. Obviously in computer there will be two kinds of things that you should always remember, and the first thing is hardware and the second thing is software. Now I will tell you the definition of hardware. The definition of the hardware is the physical parts of the computer, the machinery and the equipment is the hardware. Parts of the computer that you can see, it's simply called as the hardware. Always remember guys, the hardware is nothing but the physical parts of the computer. That means something which you can see. Every part of a computer that you can see and you can repair is the hardware of your computer. So always you just have to remember that. So when I say what are the hardware, what do you know about the hardware of your computer? At that particular point you just have to say, yes, the hardware of my computer is, you can say RAM, ROM, you can say hard drive, you can say floppy drive, you can show me so many things as a hardware devices. Yes or no? Yes. So now let me go to the next point, that is software. What is software? If you can see in the PPT, the software, it is a set of instructions that make the computer perform tasks. It tells the computer what to do. Any piece of programs are softwares. Yes, I think BTechs are so much into it, and of course BScs are into it. So now I just want to tell you what is software. As I said you, as I have given you here, it is a set of instructions that you simply give through an application to the computer through the binary language, that is Programming. Nowadays everybody do a programming for your computer to understand or to understand the software problems. You know, that is what a software is. For example, if you can see, every application is being constructed by a program, or every software or any kind of application, any kind of software is being developed by the programming. So all this programming development is called as a software, which you really can't see. That is what software is. So hardware is simply what you can see, and software is simply what you can't see. So this is a difference, a simple difference between hardware and software. So before we go with the next slide, I just want to re-see, or else I want you to re-see this PPT once again. So yes, if you can see the PPT, here I have given you hardware and software. I just want to read it once again for your clear understanding. Hardware, the physical parts of the computer, that what you can see, the machinery and the equipment is the hardware, parts of the computer. Next, software. It is the set of instructions that make the computer perform tasks. It tells the computer what to do, and any piece of programs are softwares. So I think I am very clear on what I have taught you. So always remember guys, hardware is something which you can see, software is something which you type but not see, right? So any kind of program is called as a software. So now let us go for the next slide. See, here as I said you, some are the examples of hardware and softwares. If you can see in hardware, you can see SMP, floppy drive, female pin, you can see printer, you can see inside chip, you can see hard disk, you can see a chip again, you can see USBs, you can see monitors, you can see keyboard, you can see CPU, you can see the processor fan, you can see the CD drive. Yes, as I said you, these are all the hardware components that you can see. You know, obviously when you dismantle your CPU, the first thing that you can see is the entire processor or the motherboard. So what does this motherboard have? You have RAMs in it, you have, you know, so many chips in it kept, you know, you can find a processor, you can find so many connections from that motherboard to different places. So all these are the hardwares of your computer. Yes, I was talking about monitor. A monitor is also a hardware. If you can see mouse, a mouse is also a hardware. A keyboard, yes, it is also a hardware. So now let us see the picture once again. So if you can see here, what is software? So if you can see, yes, the applications that we use on our daily life are softwares. For example, if you can see the first picture that is being displayed in the software, that is Mozilla Firefox, which is an application again and which is a software. And right beside that you can see a symbol of AVG antivirus, isn't it? That is also an application. And in between, the green one is an Android symbol, which is again an application. Like that, you have Google Pixel, you have Facebook, you have Google Chrome, you have so many applications. All these kinds of applications are simply means software. So as I said you, I'll revise once again for you. Hardware is something that you can see, software is something that you can't see, but you can develop it. So anything that can be developed through the input and a kind of data is called software. Anything that can be repaired and can be seen through your eyes and which can be taken out and put back, that is called hardware components of your computer. So this is a simply means a hardware and software in your computer. I think I'm very clear. So let us go with this next slide. So here we were been talking about monitors and CPU. So when I say this introduction to computer, that also means the definition of the monitor. So now I'll read for you the definition of the monitor. That simply means the display, you know, the display screen that provides a visual output is known as a monitor. Without a monitor, nothing can be seen. So now let us, you know, understand what is a monitor. Guys, if you can see, so many people have a habit of playing games, if I'm not wrong. Everybody puts a connection of, you know, PS3, PS2, PS4. We have all been connecting our, you know, hardware components to our computer and we'll be playing it, if I'm not wrong. So when you play without display, how can you really play the game? So where you can find the display? Obviously in a monitor, isn't it? So the monitor is the first form of display that you have to remember, and a very important component of the computer, where you can find things and you can see things and you can understand things. So these are the major components of computer. When I say these, the first thing is monitor, and let us see what is the second one. The second one is CPU. And the PPT what we are looking at, CPU, the brain of the computer is the CPU. It is the central processing unit. It is the most important part of the computer. It carries out all the instructions given to the computer. So when I say about CPU, yes, it is the brain of the computer, if I was not wrong. Yes. So what is the brain? I think, you know, the brain is something which operates your body, if I am really not wrong. So now when I am talking about computer, the brain of the computer is your CPU. And what is the definition of CPU? I was telling central processing unit. So processing itself, if I am not wrong, I think we have gone through the processing which calculates and which manipulates the binary language to the language which is understood by you. So this is the most important thing of the computer, which tries to give all the information that you will be looking out for. So this is what is very important when you speak about CPU, right? And this is the most important component of the computer, which is very important to remember. So let us go with the next slide. That is keyboard and mouse. So keyboard and mouse are also the most important things that you have to remember. I can see, you know, I think you guys can know the definitions of keyboard and mouse. Make sure you just understand what I'm talking, right? Keyboard. The keyboard allows the computer user to enter words, numbers, punctuations, symbols, and special functions. As I said you, these are the input devices. And let us go with the mouse. It is a pointing device that is used when the mouse is moved. Its movement is mirrored by the on-screen pointer. So this is how you input something into the computer. So let us go with the next slide. That is speakers and printer. It's not so tough for you to speak about speakers and printers, as you just can see what the speakers are. Speakers are one of the most common output devices used with computer systems. Regardless of the design, the purpose of speakers is to produce audio output that can be heard by the listener. And at the last, when I speak about printer, it is a piece of hardware that allows the user to print items on paper. So this is what is very important for you to remember. So these are the most important components of the computer, and that's all. So for today, we will finish the class of the fundamentals of computer, and thank you so much for listening, and I am Kranth. Thank you.